What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to the channel. As expected, the Chromatic Dev stream went off earlier, and we got some exciting new information. First off, we got the official reveal of the EV. So without further ado, let's hop right on into it with a clip from the dev stream.
It's been long enough that we wanted to show off some of the cool stuff that's been worked on, so let's yes, Evie can double jump just like all the other heroes. Evie also has her two unique abilities, similar to, I guess, pretty much DD1 style. We got the decoy, which has this really cool hologram effect. If you haven't seen that before, it's really, and when the decoy goes away, it will blow up, dealing enemy damage.
I actually had not seen that.
It's actually really nice.
I don't spend a lot of time in engine like Phil does or on the dev branch. I mostly spend my time in spreadsheets and data.
And then her second ability, if someone remembers her, I believe Proton Charge is, I don't remember the exact naming, but it is a cool flamethrower thrower V effect, which is a AoE based like ongoing effect that you can keep that will drain your mana, and you can toggle that on and off as you see fit. So if there's a crowd of enemies that you want to take down with a large AoE burst, you can mow them down with that.
Yeah, I am not 100% sure if that VFX is final, but it is looking pretty good right now.
Might be
I know
placeholder, yeah.
Our VFX artist has been working hard on Series EV, making sure everything's really shiny. The towers have been a fun challenge for him and one of our engineers to get together, so I'm sure if you play your cards right, Phil might show those off here in a few.
Yeah, so speaking of towers, we've got the Proton Beam, which basically just does tick damage as long as the enemies are within it, and it will basically just constantly hit the targets. Keep in mind, I do have gear on, so this is not a level 1 tower. This is just to show kind of what it looks like with some stats. And then moving on, we've got the physical beam, a wall that can be a varying size, which is very helpful in specific situations. Yes, that is physical damage, the proton beam. And all of these towers you'll see can be placed at varying lengths. The longer you go with it, the more DU it will take. So the max this one goes is 5, and it will decrease all the way down to 2. And I believe they get stronger as they use more DU, if I recall.
I'd have to ask Derek.
Yeah. And then moving on, we've got the Reflect Beam, which a lot of people will enjoy this tower. I've seen it used in many builds.
That's a crowd favorite right there.
No
more pesky projectiles.
Used to reflect any enemy projectile and turn it against them. It will then hit the enemies and actually deal damage back to them. Yes, you can reflect all the things except bosses. Well, I don't think bosses can be reflected. Maybe I'll let Brent decide that one.
Yeah, the designers have that. But you'll likely need some reflect for Massacre Survival, which is coming your way here soon. I'm sure there's a lot of you wondering about that patch.
Let's see. Can the proton beam fire infinitely with the genie pet? I don't know for sure, but I would imagine with a good genie pet, it's probably possible. Moving on to our fourth tower. I'm gonna sell these just to clear them out of the way. We got our shock beam, which I believe only hits enemies once, or it might be a bug. We're still kind of getting everything in order, but it will stun enemies for a short duration as well as deal a initial burst of damage. Yeah, I think that might be bugged. I think it's supposed to attack over once it gets to a certain time, but still being worked on. All of this is still work in progress, which is why we have the cavalry doing play tests and giving us feedback and helping us make sure that it's polished.
Yeah, it's come a long way since the last weekend's test, so I'm excited to have people hop in and play with Eevee, as well as all of the new design changes throughout the game, and so we can get some good feedback this weekend rolling into next week.
And then last but not least, a very controversial one, but a very fan favorite or popular one is Buff Beam. It is back in that sense. Essentially any towers placed within it will get a buff. There might need a
real tower?
Yeah, a real tower. Basically, any tower that gets buffed will get a VFX to show that it's being buffed, and then it will deal increased damage, I think attack rate, and range. I think it basically just buffs all the various stats based off your current equipment. So let's see, I don't know if I can show this off too well. It's a pretty fast firing tower, and keep in mind balance is definitely something that we are continuously looking at, and when I buff it the damage goes up, I think. Did it? Yeah, so it gave me like a 25% damage buff with the current stats that I have, so it's definitely going to be useful and in a lot of situations.
Now, in addition to all of this Eevee hotness, we also got a look at the new filtering system, which is quite in-depth. Ever since Dungeon Defenders Awaken launched, even into early access and the beta before that, folks have been asking for a different way, or a more detailed way, to filter through their inventory and to pick up the loot automatically with the auto loot system that drops. Phil has put together a very nice filtering system, and it looks promising for sure. I can already kind of picture in my mind what some of my custom filters are going to be set to, and this without a doubt is going to take away quite a bit of the loot grind looking through all of your inventory and inventory management as we're grinding out that shiny new loot. Let's check it out.
Alright, so when you go to these tabs, you're going to see that there's no items in here, and you're probably going to wonder, well, what do I do with these tabs? Down here, you're going to hit your filter button, and you're going to be presented with a new filters UI with a couple new additions. And here you can basically select all the things that you would normally filter for. Like, let's say you were looking for some armors, and maybe you were looking for Transcendent. You can then basically set your filter, and the bag will set that filter. So then when you go back to all bags and you're looking through your items and you decide, oh, I want to go look at my Transcendent armor, I click the tab and boom, I'm back to my armor. And you can do that with weapons. I could make a Squire weapon. I don't think I have any Squire weapons actually, so that's unfortunate. Because I mainly play Huntress. So I could set a tab for Huntress weapons. I could set a tab for all of my pole arms. I could come in here, maybe I want a pets tab, and now I can cycle between all of these tabs, and they come back. And this is just the beginning. There is much more to this feature. I've spent a good time trying to make sure this is very efficient. So some of you guys like to sort by max upgrades. because that's typically how you can judge a item's power. And one thing I've heard you guys complain about is that the sorts don't save. So now, when you go back to that tab, it will automatically apply the sort that you had previously. So I can have this sort by quality, this sort by max upgrades, and by item power, and I can go back and forth between all of these, and it'll be the exact same state that you had set up previously. And then, this is where it gets even better. The filters now have a couple new things. We have max upgrades, so maybe you're searching for the specific chest that only has 140 upgrades. So now all of my items will be filtered for items that have 140, between 140 and 337. Or maybe you're looking for items that are only level 90 because you're looking for a specific set. You can do that as well. Let's see. And then the next thing that we can talk about, let me get some more items. As like, let's say I have a whole bunch of armors, and let me reset this guy. I have a whole bunch of armors, and I'm looking to upgrade my builder. Well, previously I could come in here and say, oh, I want transcendent armor, and that limits it, or maybe I'm looking for mythicals too. But to go through and find all the items that have the right builder stats for them, like this item only has 3 stats, we added a keyword search. So I can come in here and say, I want power, I want range, I want...
Phil, you're covering it up with your guys' cams again.
Let me move that.
We need like a scene where the cameras are just super tiny and just like in the corners.
All right, let me...
And upside down at the same time.
We'll call it the spilling beans scene.
The bean scene.
Let me move that, and I'll move... let's see, we'll do this right. So I can... Down here at the bottom is a... let me stack myself. There. At the bottom is a keyword search. So you can type in basically anything that is on the tooltip. Any word. It does not search for values. So I can come in here and I can say that I want power, rate, range, and fortify. And you don't have to type the whole word, you can just say like fort. And all of these items will now have all 4 builder stats.
No, what have you done?
I've leaked everything. It's fine. That's my job in life.
And this, of course, is all just a little tidbit of what was in the full dev stream. If you want to check out the full VOD, there is a link down in the description below. Make sure to head on over there and check it out. If you have about an extra hour and 15 minutes to spend, it is the full enchilada as far as the dev stream today, and some good information. Now, of course, as you will find out after watching the dev stream, we do not have a release date for Update 1.1 yet. They have said that it will be coming in August, so it's not going to get here in the month of July. Of course, July is going to be over in a few hours here, so I think most of us already assumed that, and it will be here in August. Realistically, I personally would not expect it next week. I would potentially maybe not even expect it the week after that. However, I think 2 weeks from now is probably a good guess if you're the optimistic type that wants to assume it's going to get here early. However, they will get it to us when they can, and as soon as the features and systems that they're putting in place for Dungeon Defenders Awakened are complete. So it's exciting to see they're not going to just throw it out there to us. Of course, just like the rest of you, I want to get my hands on Massacre Survival and start playing it right now, and we know that is a big part of what's coming. However, it has to all be dialed in right before they get it out to us. Now, with that in mind, there is another playtest that started today and is running through the weekend. If you want to get your hands on Massacre Survival and the EV right now and to be able to check it out and give your feedback, then you want to send an email over to Danny at cavalry@chromatic.games and get yourself hooked up with an invitation to the testing. You do have to be over the age of 18 and able to sign a non-disclosure agreement to be eligible for the group. So that will do it for now. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to click that like button and please subscribe, and I will bring you more news in the world of Dungeon Defenders as it progresses. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.